In this video, I'm going to teach you the 10 steps to write a killer newsletter. And what do I mean by all killer, no filler newsletter? Well, namely an email newsletter that can, if you send it consistently and you apply the steps, rinse and repeat consistently, will send you a steady stream of leads and sales. And I'm speaking from experience here. This week is actually the 10-year anniversary that my company, AutoGrow, has been in existence. I've learned a lot about marketing hands-on during that time. And one of my proudest achievements of the business, I remember years ago when I talked to another entrepreneur who was already at that level, and he was like honored by Forbes magazine, 30 under 30, and I think his company was one of the Inc. 5000. And what I really admired about his company was the fact that he didn't have to go out and hunt for client leads. It didn't have to network. It was just like an automated system pretty much where customers and clients would come to him, come to his business. A few years later, I think it was actually less than a few years later, we achieved that for AutoGrow. And it's a gradual thing, just like any type of success. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. But long story short, if you ask me to list down, in as few items as possible, the top factors for why our company has been successful and is continuing to grow and has actually just lasted and been stable for 10 years and growing now, I would put towards the top of the list having a regular email newsletter, which we used to send once a week. Now we send twice a week. So I'm going to teach you all that more coming up now. Hi, everyone. My name is Matt Ackerson, and I'm the founder and CEO of AutoGrow.co, as you may already know. And today we're talking about the 10 steps to write an all-killer, no-filler email newsletter that people actually want to read. All right, so you know about email, and just in case you're wondering, okay, does it actually work? Yes, it works. It absolutely works. That's why all these other successful companies do it so regularly. That's why we do it as a business regularly. And why we've been in business, as I mentioned, for over 10 years. We've helped over 700 clients and counting with their sales funnels, generated over $25 million in sales, saved over 80,000 hours of work for our clients, and something that we're really proud of. But having a newsletter that people actually want to read has been a key component of that success. So step one in creating an all-killer, no-filler email newsletter that people actually want to read is to understand that your goal, your desired outcome, determines how often you should actually be sending. Okay, so you want to make this decision to start. So just like anything, you want to do a little bit of thinking and planning in the beginning. Don't just want to jump into it without having some idea of what your strategy is. All right, because the tactics are the what exactly you're going to say, like in the copy, what exactly type of tool or A/B test are you going to do. But the strategy is that how are you going to accomplish your goal, which is probably I want more consistency in terms of my leads or sales, or I just want to be stacking that that steady stream of leads and sales coming in over time. So it really, I would say, kind of comes down to what do you have the capacity for? Because email, like everything, a lot of stuff out there that's pretty hot right now, like in browser notifications, chat bots, live chat. Yeah, I mean, all that stuff works and it's great. And we use all that stuff too. But I have to say, email newsletter has always worked consistently. There's some debate about whether email marketing in general is plateauing or whatever it's doing. Depends on who you talk to. Personalization, I think, is really the key there. But coming back to the point, your goal determines how often you should send. Long story short there, do what you have the capacity for. I recommend starting once a week. So start sending a regular newsletter once a week. And then if you have capacity for more, in terms of you writing it or delegating it to a fellow team member, or even delegating it to AutoGrow to actually help take some of that work off your plate, then I encourage you to do that. Because the more often that you can send and the higher quality that copy or just the newsletter in general can be, the better results that you will get over time. Step number 2, choose your email marketing tool wisely. Some are better than others. So at AutoGrow, one of the things that makes us really great to work with, and this is not a sales pitch, I'm getting to the point here. One of the things that makes it great to work with us is that we can integrate with whatever type of tech stack tools that you and any of our other clients have. If you have a tool, like let's say that our team is already trained, has ActiveCampaign already documented, so we're familiar with it. We can work with ActiveCampaign, but let's say for some reason that we didn't know MailChimp because it was a new tool or whatever, we do. But just as an example, we can learn the tool and we can integrate with it. But I say this because to tell you that we've worked with a number of different tools. We've worked with Drip, we've worked with Infusionsoft, we've worked with ActiveCampaign. I believe Infusionsoft is now called Keep. We worked with all the other big CRM, marketing automation tools that you can think of. And I think that in terms of bang for your buck, ActiveCampaign is just a really great value. I do have my complaints about things that they're not perfect with, but in terms of value for your dollar, it's a really great option. I think plans start as low as $14 per month, and it's really 3 tools in one. You can send email newsletters with it. You can set up sophisticated, simple or sophisticated marketing automations, and it also doubles as a sales pipeline CRM. So if you are selling services or just high ticket products, even you want to follow up, you want to know where leads are as they move down the pipeline, because decision timelines maybe are a little bit longer with high ticket services and sales related to that. Well, in that case, you can monitor all that and keep it all organized with ActiveCampaign CRM feature. So choose whatever tool you want to go with, and that's going to fit your budget. But I do recommend ActiveCampaign. Step number 3 to creating a killer email newsletter is to pick your email design template, but you want to spend less time on this than you actually think. One mistake that I see a lot of marketers, entrepreneurs, business owners making is that they spend too much time on things that are actually pretty irrelevant in terms of what matters, right? So they might get hung up on something like picking like the absolute perfect, or even custom making the absolute perfect email newsletter template, when what really matters, and why I encourage you not to spend time on it, because it's not like it doesn't matter. It does. Like, you can get some incremental improvement from it. But I think what you need, and what I find that most people need, is you just need to take action, because once you get over that barrier and you cross that threshold of from lack of knowledge, maybe a little bit of fear, to having done it, feeling successful, having accomplished it, and more knowledgeable, no fear, because hey, it worked. I pushed the button and it got sent. In terms of getting you from A to B, getting you to take action, I think, is the most important thing. So spend less time on this. For many years, what we would do is we didn't have an email newsletter template at all. We do now, but even now it's very, very minimalist. But in the past, it used to just look like a plain text email. And this was intentional because people like to connect with other people, and we wanted it to feel like an email that you just got from a friend or a close colleague. And it was also coming from me personally too. So, and I wanted to convey that to people, because people are much more likely to buy from a person than from some anonymous brand that maybe not as much trust or credibility is built up. Because let's face it, you're probably, not Adidas, for example, where they've or Pepsi, whatever the right analogy is that you want to think of there, where they invested a lot of money and time to build up that trust and familiarity with. All right, step number 4, before writing, center your mind on what works. And this is the special something that in the beginning of this guide, speaking of the guide, if you want to read the full version, I encourage you to do that. At least skim and scan, because we go into more detail in the guide in terms of like research and stats. So for example, like I'm looking at a stat right now that for different types of audiences, authenticity matters more than others. But for pretty much all groups, authenticity is really, really important. And that comes back to the point in a second. But do go read the full article, subscribe to our email newsletter, subscribe to our channel, and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it. So you want to center your mind on what works, and this is the special something. So what is the special something? The special something is really just focusing every sentence, every word choice, every time you write a period, asking yourself, is this actually adding value to the reader? Really empathize with them. Put yourself in their shoes. Make it interesting. Make it exciting. Don't be boring. Rule number 1 of marketing in general, don't be boring, right? Joke around, be a little sarcastic, tell a story, okay? But don't be boring, be interesting, and be relevant. Say why what you're saying matters to your target audience, okay? Focus on your reader. Give them something that's actually going to help them, and try to make it entertaining. So that's step number 4. Step number 5, choose what the hell you are going to write about and choose something that you can repeat over and over again. Long story short on this one is write blog content, okay? Because you might as well, if you're going to write a regular newsletter, you might as well get a 2-for-1 in that sense, where if you're going to write something of quality, you might as well turn it into a blog article, because then perhaps you can get some organic inbound search traffic over time. And it can also be used as a vehicle to indirectly promote your brand as well through social media and elsewhere, okay? So it's about putting value into your marketplace and go with, in terms of making it repeatable, because otherwise, what do I mean? Let me define for you what I mean by repeatable. So here's what I mean by repeatable, and when you understand this, you'll understand why it's important. By repeatable, I mean sustainable, but I also mean something that you don't have to think about every single time you open up ActiveCampaign or whatever email tool you're going to be using. It's just, okay, we're writing another article. It's not like you're gonna, okay, well last week, I did backflips. This week, I guess maybe I should do one-handed handstands, because the 3 weeks prior I did two-handed handstands. You get what I'm saying, right? Like 1 week is maybe an offer, and the next week is, like a coupon, and the next week is, I don't know, some sort of like, oh, we have an event coming up. It feels random. Like you want to give some sort of predictability to what people can expect in your newsletters. And it's fine if you want to make offers, but you want to keep that usually at a ratio of 1 for every 4 or 5. Step number 6, create your first draft and edit following these principles. All right, so here are some of the principles. Example of what I mean here in terms of principles when creating your first draft. Here's the first example. Use tools that will make language easier to understand, easy for your readers to understand, like Grammarly or Hemingway app. I'm personally not a fan of Grammarly. My team uses it and they actually really like it, but I felt that it was kind of limited in a lot of ways. I really love Hemingway app though. It's completely free. It's not a plugin that you have to install, just hemingwayapp.com, and it tells you what your reading level is in terms of, the vocabulary that you're using. You want to go for like a 5th or 6th grade level. And tells you what sentences are difficult to read. Next principle when writing your first draft and editing is speak like you're talking to a person. So speak like you're talking to a person, because people are just going to connect with that. They're going to connect with it versus if you're using the royal we, representing some invisible identity, chorus of like, we will, blah, blah, blah. People are going to zone out a little bit, or at least be off-put, or just not connect with you. It'll just feel like kind of an anonymous article or newsletter. And finally, short sentences and paragraphs. I can't emphasize this enough. So many people, I think that communication is really probably one of the most valuable skills that any marketer or entrepreneur can have in terms of just being effective, whether you're communicating with team members, with vendors, with suppliers, with potential clients or customers. And you have to understand just the way that complicated vocabulary makes something less appetizing or just increases the amount of like friction. Think of like mental load, like, okay, someone has to unpack, what a certain word means, right? So that makes it more difficult. But in the same way, long paragraphs, long run-on sentences, they also make it more difficult to get through and to consume, because you want them to consume, you want them to open, you want them to click, you want them to consume what you're reading. So keep it simple, short sentences, short paragraphs. Think 1 to 2 sentences per paragraph, like newsletter articles, or rather newspaper articles. Step number 7, segmentation. Figure out who to send what to, and the more segmented, the better. And so I say the more segmented, the better, meaning that if your goal is purely in terms of stats and you want maximum engagement, the ideal situation is that you write an individual newsletter for each person on your email list. Now, that's really, really difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's not. But it's too much work. You're not going to do it. No one's going to do it. But the more that you can personalize it, the better. And so, for example, at AutoGrow, we are ramping up right now. And this example, you might say, okay, well, I can't do that right now, and that's fine. Okay, but just keep it in mind for the long term. If you can't think of something short term in terms of segmenting your newsletter. So we are ramping up right now to 5 articles per week. And this has been a goal of ours for a while. It's been difficult, or it is difficult, because we want to keep the quality high while also increasing the volume of newsletters and articles that we're putting out. So what we're doing, because we're going to be sending more often and we don't want to overwhelm our email list, we are going to be sending each of the articles to a specific segment. So if we write about email marketing one week, we're going to send it to the part of our email list that says, told us when they signed up, because we have like a little survey when you sign up. What's your biggest challenge? What do you need the most help with? We will send it to those people. If we're writing about landing pages or sales funnels, we send it to each segment. And the result of that is just, in terms of probability, you're going to get a much higher open rate and a much higher click rate in general. It can be really the difference between a 0.5 click rate versus something like a 5% click rate. So a 10 times difference would not be untypical, but even if it was 5 times, I'm sure you'd agree that would be great, right? All right, step number 8, A/B testing subject lines and pre-send checks once it's sent out, or rather before it's sent out, because once you hit send, you can't undo it. So this one, I'm going to direct you over to the article to really read through. The long and short of this one is you want to make sure that you're choosing multiple subject lines. If you have a small email list, just go with 2 to start, 2 subject lines to A/B test. But it's very rare when I and now my team will be doing like a pre-send check on our email newsletters that they won't find something that has to be changed, like a typo, a missing period, a link. It's so common. And if you just check it and you slow down and you read it out loud, you're going to find opportunities to improve and errors that would otherwise be there in a newsletter that you can't edit after you send it. So be sure to do those pre-send checks and read the article for more details on that. Step number 9, track the success of your emails and pick out insights you can use later. So this one, pretty straightforward. You hit send. Congratulations, you've just sent an email newsletter. You've taken action. That's really, really important for success in general. A lot of people, they don't even make it to this step because they're trying to delegate it and they're not able to do it effectively, or they can't find the right partner or freelancer or whatever the case is, person on their team who can learn how to do it. Or they're trying to do it themselves and they get too hung up on the email template and they forgot that they had to get results, you actually had to hit send. So congrats on getting to this step, but you want to look at your results. Probably see about 50% of your results come in the first, I would say, 3 to 4 hours after you actually hit send. It's really fast, for email, which is great because you get that kind of immediate feedback. And then you can probably take whatever number that is and double it to sort of estimate, what your final open or click rate will be, because depending on how big your email list is, you'll see more people come trickling in over time. So for example, we'll get 50% of our results in the first 3-4 hours, and then within 2 days, we'll see that number double. So, and what do we look for specifically? Well, first of all, we are testing for click rate, not just for open rate, because what do we want? We want to drive people to our website to actually read the full article that we're putting out, the full resource. And the way that we're structuring our newsletter is it's usually an intro, usually about 300 words, so not too long, then a clear call to action to drive people over there. So we want to measure, because that really helps us to understand, okay, how much did people open it, determines how much they liked the subject line. And then we take that subject line and actually make that the final title, the winning subject line. And then how much do we interest them in the actual topic itself, right? That's based on the click rate, all right? So that helps us to gauge the level of engagement. Finally, step number 10, rinse and repeat. Do you want sales all the time, or do you want to do it 1 week and be like, all right, like that was awesome, and then kind of forget about it next week? I mean, I can tell you for a fact that email is a wonderful marketing tool. And a lot of businesses that are out there that are very successful aren't using it to the degree or effectiveness that it can be used. They're pursuing many other channels, like, let's grow our traffic. And meanwhile, 70% of their sales or buying decisions, you can even say, because people will be on your email list for a while before they actually buy, they will be coming as a result of you sending emails. So you want to rinse and repeat. That consistency is so, so important. All right. And by the way, if you want to learn more about this step, the previous steps, and we actually put together a bonus checklist to help you continue growing continuously growing your email newsletter audience, because that's really key to success as well. It's just having an email list that is constantly expanding. If you want a free checklist, go ahead, click the link. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link below to go read the full article. If you're already on autogrow.co, then scroll up and down and you will find that checklist and the rest of the article too. All right, so hope you like this article. Please like it, share it. And by the way, if you, as I mentioned, want to delegate, whether it's creating your email newsletter, your entire email automation sequence, if you want to build an entire sales funnel from top to bottom, and you don't want to do all the work for it, you just want to kind of be the one delegating it, Well, with AutoGrow, you can delegate all of your digital marketing tasks without the high cost of hiring. So other places, marketplaces, you go somewhere, you have to worry about, okay, is the freelancer going to work out? Do they know what they're doing? Are they knowledgeable? Are they professional? If I hire them, will they do some of the work and then disappear? Will they send my first newsletter and then, and then jack up their rates after? With AutoGrow, it's not like that at all. You don't have to worry about, any of that. We take care of all the hiring behind the scenes, and you can sign in, you enter what idea you want us to work on, just type, give us some notes. What's the end result that you want? Hit the button that says make it real and watch like magic as it goes from 0 to 100%, and we get the work done for you. All right, so go check it out if you're interested at autogrow.co. And if you're more of the do-it-yourself type, where you are interested in our 6-figure sales funnel training, for example, you can check that out too at autogrow.co/marketplace. So until next time, keep converting and stay focused.